You can tell I don't speak in front of microphones ever. I've never spoken in front of people in all my years. I managed to do small groups in college so that I didn't have to do things like this. But a little bit about me. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley with a Christian mom and dad, and my earliest memories are driving the church bus with my dad, sitting by it with my baggie of cereal, and picking up kids for church. We went to that church my whole life, and when I was about 18, I went one way and my parents stayed with the church. And from my going that way, I ended up with, well, I didn't end up, I had 3 blessings. And some shattered marriages. But I got through that part of my life, and when I was 26 years old, I rededicated my life to the Lord. And it turned everything in my life around. I can't say it was me. It was all God doing it for me. It was the church praying for me. Our pastor at the time would come and knock on my door without announcing himself. And so that was kind of strange, because you never knew when people were going to be there. I lived on the same street as the church by this point. My parents lived in Van Nuys. I lived in North Hollywood, and the church was at the corner. And so, yeah, he would just knock at my door. But he also prayed for me. He also got to visit with my dad and me in jail once when I was in there. But they never gave up on me through that whole time. Fast forward about 26 years ago, I moved out here to Santa Clarita, and I moved out here to get a new start, and San Fernando Valley just wasn't working for me and the kids, and I met my husband out here, and from there, that was in 1994. 1994, I met my husband, and we dated, and we got engaged a year later, and about 6 months before we were going to get married, that's when things started falling apart for us with an allegation in his life. And from there, I lost the custody of my 3 children. The department thought that, the Children's Services thought that since I couldn't protect my children, and I believed in the man I was going to marry, that I was putting him before them. And we fought for the children. I had people from the church around me at all times. They prayed with me, they prayed for me, and about 90 days later, I got my kids back. And Joe and I got married in June of that year, so within that 6-month period, we did get married. And we've had a lot of struggles over the last couple of years, and all of you know all about those. And I have to say that I couldn't have made it through without God and with my friends here. I get little notes in the mail that just say I'm praying for you. And those mean the world to me. What happened was a couple years ago, it came to our attention that our daughter was using drugs, our oldest daughter, and so we decided that we would take the kids into our home, but the part of that we had to do was we had to live in 2 separate houses at that point. And we didn't think it was going to be as long as it was. It turned out to be about 1.5 years. But all through that time, God just carried me through. He kept me healthy to take care of those boys. He put people in my life that just walked that path with me. I never felt alone. Even though I didn't have my husband right next to me, I had other people that were calling me and checking on me. So I don't know how people do it that don't have a church family. And really, it's so sad because we have so much here with our faith and with our believing friends. But we did get my husband home in October, and now we're learning how to live with 5 of us. Our kids had all grown and moved out of the house, but we're still walking this path. We don't know what's going to happen. Our daughter did lose her parental rights yesterday at court, so she can contest it now, and then we're going to seek guardianship for them. And our prayer would be that she would get her life together. But I can't say that through this whole process, I believe that it's made my husband and I stronger. We've had, just Peter, he's just been amazing. When I'd pick up the phone, he'd always have the right words to say to me. And I also work in an office. I've been in this company for 22 years, and I'm very fortunate because everybody in my office practically is a Christian. So we're not afraid to stop what we're doing during the day and just pray. So I don't know what the people who aren't believers think, but we've prayed at my desk, we prayed at their desk, we prayed in the bathroom, we prayed in the lunchroom. We just pray anywhere. And it's such a blessing. I've really missed that through this last year because I've been at home. But I know I can still call them, and we still pray over the phone. And that's one of the neatest things about also having coworkers that are believers. And I'm so blessed with that. Just wanted to share, there's a couple verses. Most of Philippians 4 I've just really hung on to in the last couple of years through this time. But also Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or tremble at them. I have a tendency to be very anxious, but I haven't really been anxious through this whole thing because I just know God's in charge. For the Lord your God is the one who goes before you. He will not fail or forsake you. He's already got this all planned. It's not what I would have wanted for my daughter, but it's what he's chosen. And then on my wall at the office, I have this saying, and I really, really like it. It says, when your will is God's will, you will have your will. And it's by Charles Spurgeon. And because I get in the way quite often, and I want my will, but I have to rely on him and what his will is. And the other quote by Spurgeon that I really enjoy is, our anxiety does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows, but only empties today of our strengths, of its strengths. So I hang on to those. Another reason I miss not being in the office because I have all my stuff around me there. But that's enough about me. Yesterday was pretty uneventful at court. Our next court date will be in July. And that's when the parents can do what they're going to do, and then we'll go for guardianship after that. So I just appreciate everybody's prayers through this couple-year process we've been going through, and I couldn't have done it without you. And thank you.
Melody, thank you. Thank you. It's easy to put into words as you try to tell your story, to try to grapple with how do I put everything that I'm feeling and that I've felt in life that God has kind of not only done in my life, but is now calling me to. And some of you, most of you, don't have a lot of people in here who are retired. We have a number of them. but very few have received a call from the Lord once they get to retirement age to now start being parents again. That's what's happening here. You hear that, right? That's what's happening. If they take guardianship of their own grandchildren, which they have to fight for, they're walking into a season that neither of them expected. Not my will, but thine be done takes on a whole new thing, right, for them, a whole new expression. And I, for one, recognize that that would be a very, extremely difficult thing for me to think in my mind, I can do this, I can do this. But here again, that's the power of God. I can't, but God can, if he calls you to do that. So obviously they want prayer for dates and all that God's going to do. They want prayer that Natalie, that God would get a hold of that girl and just shake her until everything falls into place again, right? But if that's not his choice, then what they're saying is, I'm willing to take that step forward and say, yes, Lord, and no to me. And that's a huge dream. Some of you have dreams of retirement, right? Some of you have had those dreams redone. Some of you are living it, and that's fine. All I'm saying is, I want you to value what's happening here, right here in our midst, and I want you to know that as important as it was for Melody to say thank you for walking me alongside me through years of being without my husband, years of having to deal with, trying to invest in my daughter who just seems to spend everything I invest in other ways. We really need to continue and hear the cry of that heart, because they need you to continue to do what they're being called to do, if that's indeed where the court ends up taking them, right? But I'm so glad that we have those kinds of stories here, because that's what you need to hear. Some of you need to go home and just say, God, thank you. Thank you that you've given me my plan, you've given me entrusted me with what you want me to do. And at the same time, you just have to think, how can I be a part of this scene? Because we are part of that same family, right? In that sense, if these kids belong to God, as we all do, then they're part of our family. So whatever you've been doing, as you have been doing it, you heard her say thank you, don't stop. And some of you, and I'm including myself in that, we could probably take a step in along the way and see how we can help. Does that sound like reasonableness?